Hi yoga friends. So a few years ago, my awesome sister was in a motorcycle accident out in California, and she fractured her scaphoid, one of the small wrist bones, in her right hand. She was in a cast for almost 6 months, had a lot of limited mobility. Aside from that, she was fine. So I'm representing today, always wear a helmet, and I've got my cool new aloe moto leggings on. They're like my new favorite. So representing Ashi and all of her awesomeness. In the last couple years, since this fracture and coming out of her cast, she's had some limited mobility, some pain, and she's expressed interest in getting into yoga, but obviously a lot of the things that we do are very wrist heavy. So for her birthday this year, I got her a yoga themed gift. No better gift in my opinion than yoga. So I'm going to make a flow for her that helps to improve wrist mobility and also modify a lot of the things that we do to make it accessible for people who maybe have pain in the wrists or some limited mobility there. Okay, so I'm keeping my videos a little bit shorter. My last time I had some issues with my sound not syncing if I kept it a little bit longer, so sorry for all the cuts. So really the first thing with modifications, we use props in yoga to make things more accessible to our different bodies. We can also use them to make it more challenging. So when people have blocks or things next to their mats, it doesn't speak to anyone being a beginner. It speaks to really using the tools to help you make the best practice for you and for your body. So part of her yoga gift is the Gaim wedge. Now I just went and got this on Amazon. There's tons of different ones. They come kind of cut in half, one-on-one, so maybe you only have one side that's bothering you. They've got different colors. This is really kind of my first time using this, and I played around with it a little bit. Sorry, Ashley, you're getting a bit of a used gift here. But I like this one quite a bit, and you can change the angles a little bit based on what side is up. And then I've also got just your standard yoga blocks. Now, if you don't have any of this yoga equipment, you can always modify as well by using towels rolled up under the heel of your hand, or I even sometimes roll my yoga mat back a little bit and use that as a bit of a cushion, and the angle of this helps to decrease the angle in your wrist so that you're not at that pure 90-degree angle when you're resting on your hands, but a little bit more of an oblique angle, taking some pressure off those wrist bones. So no need to go out and get a lot of fancy yoga stuff, but this came 2 days on Amazon. We're so spoiled these days. So this is what we'll be using for the flow today, and then the blocks a little bit as well. Okay, so with any practice that I'm going to be doing either a lot of wrist work or I'm working with people that have some mobility issues in the wrist, I always spend a good amount of time warming up the wrists, and the muscles that move your fingers and your wrists are all kind of up here in the forearm. So there's a lot of work that we need to do to actually warm up those muscles that help to support our wrist and our hand. And then we also have all sorts of intrinsic muscles, which are muscles that are just inside of the hand, that also help to build a stable foundation when we're putting a lot of weight through our hands, which is a little atypical in just a general day-to-day life. So everyone come to a comfortable seat, and I enjoy hero's pose, sitting on my heels. It kind of stretches out my quads a little bit. You can give yourself a little more accessibility there by sitting on a block. if that's uncomfortable for you. Or you're also welcome to take any kind of cross-legged seat. And again, modifying by sitting up on a block helps to keep your pelvis in a nice neutral position to protect the low back. I'm just going to come back to my hero's pose. And we're going to start by just clasping the hands together and making a couple of circles with the wrist. Now you can go in any direction you like. We're going to go in one direction for a little bit and then switching the direction, making a big circle. It kind of feels like a figure eight. Again, just starting to bring a little mobility through the wrist and the forearm there. And then starting with just a gentle Anjali mudra, so hands at heart center. This is always a nice way to open your practice, but here we're going to bring in this mudra and then start to lift the elbows and bring them back down. So again, just some gentle extension through the wrist. Up and down, and you can bring this into a little more meditative state, inhaling and exhaling. Maybe as you start to warm up, you can bring those elbows a little higher, pushing the hands together, really all the way up to the fingertips, so getting that entire hand engaged. Now we're going to do the opposite, and if you have any carpal tunnel issues, you want to be careful here. When we're bringing flexion or bending the hand down toward the forearm, that closes up that little carpal tunnel through the wrist. So if you have issues here, just move gently. Yoga is going to be a great way to, so if you can see me here, I'm doing kind of the opposite, rolling my fingers down, pointing down towards the ground like this. So we're going to come in and out of that a few times. And just holding it here now, the back of your hands are going to be pressing together. And just see if you can give yourself a few flaps with your elbows. Bringing that down. And even if you're not moving much at all, a couple centimeters, you can see I have really hypermobile wrists. So, I do a lot to bring strength into the muscle surrounding my wrist. It's all about balance and what works for your body and having a safe yoga practice so you can have it for your whole life. All right, so we're gonna start to warm up some of the muscles. So you're gonna pump the hands in and out. So you're by your side here, palms are up. And start to engage those muscles, and you should probably start to feel this in your forearms relatively quickly. Flip the palms down, same thing. And see if you can speed it up. Go as fast as you can, in and out. If you're grabbing something, letting go. Palms up, grabbing something, letting go. Palms to one another, grabbing something, letting go. Bring a little internal rotation to the shoulders, palms facing out. And now just for the little coup de grace, arms straight up overhead. I know I'm out of the frame a little, but my hands are pumping, I promise. In and out. Good, and then bring it down. Palms back together in Anjali Mudra. Press them together. Push the palms together, lift the elbows up. Just a little stretch. Again, up and down. And hold it here. One more strengthening exercise. You're going to scoot back a little bit. We're going to do little hand push-ups. Now, finger push-ups. So you don't have to bring a lot of weight into your fingers. You're obviously just modifying this however works for you. So your finger pads are grounded, And I really want you to make sure that you're not hyperextending into any of those interphalangeals. So I'm just going to show you close up. So you're not pressing down like this. See how my last little digit, part of my digit is under there like that? I want you to be up on those fingers so they're nice and strong and engaged. And we're going to kind of come up and down like a little spider. It's difficult to see from further away, so giving you the zoomed up version. So again, with a lot of yoga, we tend to kind of dump weight into our wrists. And really when we engage our core, when we engage the rest of our body, we're able to pull up and out of that. So I want you to start to think about that and find, a little shift, a place where you feel challenged through those hands and fingers, but not any discomfort. And we're going to go down and up, little finger push-ups. Do you ever think you would be doing push-ups with your fingers? I've seen people do this from a full-on plank position, so you can really bring a lot of strength into those intrinsic muscles and those muscles in the hand. Good, 2 more. 1 and 2, very good. Come on back to a comfortable seat, and again, just open up the hands, put your fingers together in Anjali Mudra, but really spread those fingers apart and start to round up. And now, we're not bringing this one so much into the wrist, but we're allowing the fingers now to extend. And so I'm getting just a little bit of a finger stretch. And then bring it back to the middle, and you can push with one hand, your fingers over to one side, and then push with the other hand, your fingers over to the other side. We're going to do just a really gentle shoulder stretch. Obviously, the arm bone's connected to the wrist bone, to the finger bone, that child song, but it's very true. Obviously, we're a complete unit. So inhale, arms out really wide like a bird. Stretch out your chest, and then bring your right arm across the body. Grab just above the elbow towards your shoulder, and we're just going to stretch across like that. Good, inhale. And exhale, left arm across. You can see my hand is towards my shoulder, just above my elbow, pulling my arm in toward me, stretching out the back of my deltoid, back of my shoulder there. Inhale the arms up overhead. Look up to the hands. Drop your right hand behind you like you're going to scratch your back. Grab the back of your elbow. See if you can feel a nice stretch through that right tricep here. Inhale, look up. Exhale. Arms back up to center. Left arm back. Reach back. Scratch that part right between your shoulder blades. Inhale. Arms up overhead. Rest your hands down. And our arms are nice, warmed up for a little short flow. Okay, everyone, I had to move the camera back so my head's not cut off as we start moving here. But I've got the wedge set up in front of me, so the tall end of the triangle is facing me. And when I place my hands down on it, obviously you can bring your hands closer down towards the bottom or further up. With any kind of wrist-bearing position, you want to think about the weight being in this L shape between your thumb and your pointer finger. So a lot of times when we are on our wrists, we kind of roll out or externally rotate, and you feel a lot of weight into the outside portion of your wrist. So I really want you to counteract that here and come on to your hands and your knees. And bring your hands right underneath the shoulder. So we're starting a little bit of joint stacking, which again brings some efficiency into our movement and is really how our body is meant to be moving. So as I put some weight down through my hands, I'm really thinking about grounding through the knuckle of my pointer finger and my thumb. And again, this is going to protect the wrists. Now, the other really important thing is the difference between external rotation in the shoulder and internal rotation in the wrist. So sometimes when we roll into that L shape in the hands, we start to roll the shoulders in. I want you to think about squeezing the shoulders down and back onto your back together, which brings a little external rotation into the upper part of the arm. And then as we come down to the hand, we're internally rotating. The front of the elbow is pointing as straight forward as your anatomy allows. Of course, we're all a little bit different. So pressing through there, you might just bring a little internal rotation, so a bit of a cat-like arch to your spine. And then external rotation, shine your collarbones forward, points of the elbow come back, and that crease of the elbow come forward. Again, cat round with the back, and then counteract that, not quite a cow, but your chest shines forward, your hands are grounded, keeping that weight-bearing position in the L shape of your thumb and your pointer finger. So again, this is a lot of work for the body, a way that we're not generally used to moving, but by cultivating this proper alignment, we're going to be building a healthy yoga practice for the rest of our lives. So if you've got the wedge, we're going to set that up there, and we're going to come into just a standing position. So we're going to move through just a few sun salutations, using this wedge to help offload the wrist just a little bit. So grounding your feet, again, feeling the weight through all four corners, engaging your quadricep muscles, tailbone tucks slightly down, belly button pulls in. Inhale, arms up overhead, look at the thumbs. Exhale, bend your knees as much as you need to bring your hands onto the wedge. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Now, you can use the tip of this wedge to bring a nice flat spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we're going to step the right leg back and then the left leg back and come into a hands and knees position. We're going to move through some traditional cat-cow, So exhale all the air out of your body, round yourself up like an angry cat. Inhale, look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, look up. Exhale, round one more time. Inhale, look up. Now take your feet out to the left at a diagonal and bring your ear toward your left hip. So bringing a little bit of lateral flexion, you should start to feel a contraction through your left side body and then a little bit of a stretch through the right. One breath here. Good, come back to center. Other side. So we're starting to now bring a lot of work through the wrists here, a lot of weight bearing. Remember that you can always scoot your body weight back a little bit more proportioned into the legs to offload the wrists a little bit. Come back in. Good. Inhale, look up. Exhale, down. And then bring the hips down towards the heels. We're going to come into a child's pose. This is quite nice with the wedge. It elevates your wrists a little bit to take some pressure off. You can always tent up a little bit more onto the fingers to bring it into the shoulders a little bit more. Come back up, round onto that wedge. Tuck your toes, and we're going to just lift the knees up a little bit. Again, bringing some more weight in through the hands. You can always push the weight back a little bit, Really feel a firm belly. We're not going into downward dog just yet. Walk your feet up towards the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Roll out those wrists one way, roll them out the other way. Forward fold. Inhale all the way up. Look up at the hands. Exhale, back to Anjali Mudra. Drop the elbows down. Lift them up. Drop them down. Inhale, arms up overhead. Look at the hands. Bend the knees if you need to protect your low back. Ground those hands. Lift halfway up. Look up and back down. Left leg goes back first now. Again, coming into hands and knees. Inhale. Cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. We're going to try to shift into a modified plank from here. So walk your knees back. Now your shoulders are going to come over your wrists. So this is going to start to be a lot more pressure through that wrist there. So again, really focus on the form. Core is nice and tight. If this feels like no problem for you, come into a full plank position. Holding here. Belly's in. Think about the front of the elbows pointing forward and grounding through the thumb and the pointer finger, L shape. Drop the knees if they aren't already. Come back into a child's pose. Reach the fingers forward as far as you can. Ground the elbows, palms together. Bring them to the base of your neck. And a little tricep and shoulder stretch. Extend that forward. Reach into your child's pose, really getting a stretch through the backside body. Come back to hands and knees. Left leg comes forward into our forward fold. Halfway lift. Fold again. Ground through the feet. Inhale all the way up. Look up at the hands. Come down through heart center. Anjali Mudra. Elbows up. Little stretch. Elbows down. Elbows up. And elbows down. Inhale, arms up overhead. Look at the hands. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale down. Now we're going to come straight back into that plank position, whichever modification works for you. Step the right leg back, the left leg back. And now bend the knees a lot. Start to push the hips up, and if you have the space, ground your heels, straighten your legs. So this is a lot of work through the wrists, but you can see with this wedge, I'm sliding a little bit, but I'm working to ground and I'm not having a huge bend through my wrists. Inhale your right leg up just a little bit. Step forward into a runner's lunge. We're going to come off of those wrists, ground that left knee, tense your fingers right by your foot, and look forward. Ground those fingers in that tented position. Tuck your back foot under, toes under, lift up that knee. Again, full runner's lunge, look forward. Bring your feet to step together. Fold in half, halfway lift, fold, arms all the way up overhead, hands touch, back to heart center. Let's stretch those wrists again, elbows up and down, up and down. Inhale, arms up overhead, bend the knees, going into the left side. Halfway lift, and down, stepping the left leg back now into your plank position. Whatever modification works for you. Good. We'll bring in the up dog next round. Bend the knees, bring the hips up. Come on into your downward facing dog. Now, because of the large angle that we have in our shoulders, you may not need the wedge, even with little wrist mobility issues. So you can try this without it. Just scoot it to the front of the mat. Inhale, the left leg comes up slightly. Keep those hips grounded towards the ground. Pull your belly button in towards your spine. Foot grounds down. Runner's lunge. Right knee grounds down. Tent up onto those fingertips. Look up. Big stretch in that back hip flexor. Good. Tuck the right toes under. Lift up that knee. Full runner's lunge. Ground the fingers. Right foot meets the left. Fold in half. Halfway lift. Now, one of my favorite wrist stretches, we're going to move the wedge forward a little. Heel toe your feet out about hips width distance. So that's about 2 fists width between those big toes. Bend your knees as much as you need to, really keeping the knees behind the ankles. And we're going to come into a gorilla pose. And so what I'm doing here is the palms are actually flipping up toward the ceiling, toward my feet. Now this might be enough of a stretch for you, or if you have the ability, start to bring the hands under the feet a little. And you can use your toes to massage out the hands. And if you have the availability or the space, you can straighten the legs. Bring those shoulder blades down and onto your back. And pull the elbows apart, giving yourself a little distraction into the wrist. So pulling the arm bone away from all of those little wrist bugs. Just 2 more breaths here. Again, wherever you are feeling good, sometimes I pick up my heel and really give myself a nice deep hand massage. Good. Take the wrists out from underneath of you, ground the palms onto the mat or onto your wedge. Lift halfway up. Fold in half. Heel toe the feet back together so your big toes are touching. Inhale. Arms up overhead. And back down to heart center. So we're going to add a little bit of a half push-up or chaturanga. And an upward dog to our flow now. Inhale, arms up overhead, look up, fold in half. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Right leg comes back, left leg comes back. We're in a high plank position. You can have your knees grounded. Bring your body weight forward. Bend the elbows close by the body, chaturanga. So again, my elbows and my shoulders are in line here. Push up into an upward dog. Your thighs are lifting off the mat, or a cobra. Exhale, bend your knees. Come into a child's pose. Take a little bit of weight off of those wrists. Ground the hands down. We're going to come into down dog. Right leg lifts up. Bend the knee forward, runner's lunge. Just a quick stop here. Step forward, forward fold. Halfway lift. And down. Inhale, arms up overhead. Anjali Mudra at the heart. Flap those elbows. Arms up overhead. Left side now, fold in half, halfway lift, and ground. into your plank position. Knees or toes. Forward chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Again, this one, if you need to ground to keep that good form in the wrists, do it. And down to child's pose. Give your down dog a try, maybe without the wedge this time. Lift those hips up. Left leg comes up. Quick stop into runner's lunge. Lift the chest. Feet come together. Forward fold. Half lift. Fold. All the way up to heart center. Hands down to Anjali Mudra. Elbows up and down. Up and down. Arms up overhead. Hands, we keep them here. We're going to do a lateral flexion stretch. You're going to grab, you can't see me, can you? So you're going to grab just above your wrist bone here at the hand. So as we start to bend to one side, you're going to give yourself a little distraction into the wrist. So that just means separating the bones from one another slightly to give them some space, to bring fresh synovial fluid into those joint spaces. So I'm actually going to do this on my knees. Please feel free to do it standing. This way you can see, really see what I'm doing. So if you are standing, ground through the four corners of your feet. You're welcome to do this kneeling with me as well. We're bringing a stretch into the side body. So arms are up overhead, grabbing that left wrist. Inhale, bellies in. Start to tip to the right. So you want to think about sliding your body between two planes of glass. So you're not rounding forward too much. Take a peek under that left shoulder and really pull on that left hand with your right hand. Inhale, come back up to center. Switch it out. Left hand grabs above the right wrist. Exhale. Come on over towards the left. Peek under your shoulder. With each inhale, think about lengthening the spine a little longer. And with each exhale, maybe you can come a little bit deeper. Inhale, arms up overhead, reach up, look up. Hands to heart center. Hold it here. Okay, so we're going to move through the flow a few more times. And I'm just going to show you a couple of other modifications that you can do to offload the wrists without using this wedge. So another really nice modification, especially to take away a plank position, is just a forearm plank. Okay, so we're going to do some core work here, coming through a flow with the forearms working into side plank and maybe even some hop forwards and back. So come back into your standing position. Inhale, arms up overhead. Look at your thumbs. Fold in half. Halfway lift. Fold down, forward fold. And now we're going to step back. And I'm going to come into a forearm plank. So we're going to inhale. You can come into down dog, or if really working the shoulders, dolphin pose. So my forearms are grounded. Again, I'm working to press my palms and that L shape of my thumb and pointer finger into the ground. My elbows are not any wider than my shoulders. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, we're going to come forward. Again, lifting up just a little bit. Grounding that back foot, warrior one. Exhale, warrior two. Flipping up the palms, we're going to reverse our warrior. I'm going to meet my right hand with my left, and again, give it that little pull at the wrist. Back to warrior two, straightening that leg, just give that thigh a bit of a rest. Then back down, side angle, ground that elbow onto your thigh, arm up overhead, and I want you to take some rolls with that right wrist. Other way, come back up to warrior two, sweep that left arm forward, warrior one. We're going to ground down into those palms. Let that knee come down in the back to just make sure you're not putting too much weight on the wrists. And come back into your forearm plank. Holding it here, your body is one straight long line, building a little internal heat. Tap your right knee down, lift it up. Left, up, right. So we're going for a little walk on our forearms here. 5 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Lift up, hold it. Good, let those hips come down. We'll just relax in Sphinx pose. And this is a nice way to stretch out the belly. Give the arms and the core a bit of a break. Chin comes down. Make little semicircles along the chest with your chin, rolling out that neck. Good. And come back up into it. We're going to move into the left side. So again, push up through the body. See if you can move as one solid plank. Let's hike those hips. Come into your dolphin pose. Now here, it takes a lot of flexibility in the backside of the legs. Your heels are likely not going to ground, even if they do in your down dog. Hold it here. Inhale, the left leg comes up. We're going to ground that knee. Come forward, left foot grounds. Back foot comes back into a 45-degree angle, warrior one. Warrior two. Inhale, reverse your warrior, so my palm flips up and open, grabbing that wrist just like we did in the side body stretch. Give it a little distraction. Warrior two. Come down into your side angle. Let rest on that front thigh. Arm comes up. Look up at that top hand and roll out the wrist and your fingers in the bottom hand. Switch directions. Come back up into your warrior two. Straighten that leg. Give that front leg a little bit of a break. Come back down to your warrior two. Sweep the arms forward and up. Warrior one. Come on down. Hands ground. Back knee grounds. Forearms come back down. All right, we're going to come into that plank position one more time. We're going to move into a side plank now. All right, so we're going to ground really strongly through that right forearm. And we're going to roll over onto the nice edge of our right foot. You can keep your left fingers grounded. Think about lifting this right hip up and ultimately the left arm up. You can always stagger your feet. Bring the top foot, your left foot, forward to keep your hips in line. Look up at your hands. Ground that left forearm down. Let's give it a little bit of a rest. Drop those hips, come into Sphinx pose. Shine the front side of your chest and your collarbones forward. Exhale, let the head just drop down. Relax. Ground through those forearms. Tuck the toes under. Really engage your belly here and lift up as one solid piece. Our weight now is coming into that left forearm. Rolling, again, using your fingers for balance. Get your hips in alignment. Again, your right foot can come forward for balance, keeping that top part of your hip stacked on top. Arms up overhead. So the intention here is we're strengthening this side waist that's facing down towards the ground, and you can really feel that engagement as you lift that left hip up more towards the ceiling. Exhale, bring that right hand down to the mat again. Hold your forearm plank. Think about a little bit of a cobra hood through the upper part of your back, separating those shoulder blades away from one another. One more deep breath in. And then exhale, hips down to the ground. Let your forehead come down. Palms face up beside you. Again, keeping your forehead on the ground. Make little rocks side to side, ironing out any creases or tension you might find there. And then let your left ear come down. Switch sides. Right temple grounds to the mat. Think about slowing your breath here, allowing your heart rate to slow as you consciously slow your breathing. We're going to do 2 back bends from here. Locust pose and a more intense version for the arms and the wrist version of locust pose. Now, when you're working into these back bends, we're building strength in the backside body, the core strength. So, your back bend could literally just be a few centimeters or even just engaging all those little intrinsic muscles on the back. So bring your forehead back to the ground. Your arms are going to come beside of you. Your palms are down, so your thumbs are pointing out to the outside of the mat. And again, you're going to keep your head grounded for this first one, and you're going to press your hands and your forearms down towards the mat. So we're bringing a little bit of that rotation mobility, supination into the wrists here from this supported position. So your forehead is grounded. Think about pulling your belly button up and into your spine. So you want to keep that low back protected. And we're just going to lift the right toes up off the mat. I have my head lifted just so I can talk to you. But keep your forehead grounded. Good. And then bring it down. Lift the left leg up. Now, it's not so much about bending the knee and lifting the leg higher. It's more about lengthening that leg back away from you and then using that strength of the backside body to lift it a little bit higher. So you want your leg to be as straight as possible. Bring it down. One more time on the right. So really reach to the back edge of your mat. You can be in that demi-pointed position with the toes back towards your body and the ball of your foot pushing away from you. I kind of like that one. And down. And one more time, I'm going to lower my head just so you can see. Lifting that leg up as high as we can go. All right, now we're going to do both legs at the same time. Really squeeze them together like you have one cobra's tail. Push in to your hands. Lift the legs up. If this feels comfortable for you, you can lift your chest up a little bit, engaging the upper part of your back. Keep your neck in alignment. Don't lift your head up, your chin up too high. Bring everything back down. Palms come forward. Do that pumping action with your fingers again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So if that felt comfortable for you, and what we're about to do next is uncomfortable, stick with this version until you feel really comfortable here and safe, okay? So this next version of locust pose brings the arms underneath the body. So you're putting a lot of pressure into the actual arm bone. And I'm going to show you, your hands are going to be underneath of you, palms are down, coming closer together like this. So this is a lot of pressure through the joints, but when we bring that kind of compression into the joints and then release it, again, it brings that fresh blood, synovial fluid, which is the lubrication for all of our joints, back into maybe a little bit of a congested joint. So move through this slowly. What I like to do to start is rock over to one side, and then I bring, my palm is down, my thumb is pointing away from me, underneath of me here. Then I move over to the other side. Now your hands might not touch at all. They might be all the way close together. But again, grounding down through those forearms, just like you did in that last locust pose. With this one, it tends to be pretty awkward feeling. But again, you're going to keep either your nose or your forehead down towards the ground. And you might just feel enough of a stretch here, and all you need to do is engage those legs, engage that belly. Lift the right leg up just a little. Good. Bring it back down. Last leg up. Reach back. And down. Now both legs, really push into the ground with your arms. Good. And back down. Lift those hips up. Bring those arms out from underneath of you. Pump those fingers. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands come in front of you. Push up into a little bit of a cobra, as high as comfortable, and then come back into a child's pose, stretching those arms out, really reaching to the top of your mat. Forehead grounds. All right, everyone, so I hope you enjoyed that modified flow. When I finish any kind of yoga class, I like to finish with some breathing. Again, today was very instructional, so I want you to think about bringing those elements into different parts of your yoga class. I'd love to hear any kind of things that you found doing that practice, any kinds of modifications that you use for your special and unique body. So please write back to me, let me know what you find. Let's just finish this class in a nice shavasana, allowing our bodies to absorb all that hard work that we just did. It's always difficult when we're moving through an exploration of the body to also think about all those little postural cues and everything. So really congratulate yourself on all that hard work. I'm going to take the block out from underneath me, and I'm going to come into Shavasana. So hips ground, body comes down flat, palms are facing up. Let your feet come wide, shoulder blades tuck underneath the body. Okay, yogis, so allow your body to be fully supported by the ground, surrendering all the hard work you've just done. Feeling your head, your shoulders, your arms, your hands heavy on the mat. Feel your upper back and your middle back and your low back supported by the mat. Maybe you have blocks or rolls of towels or blankets under your knees, and that's supporting you too. As you rest here, we're going to listen to one of my more recent favorite songs. It's the opening for a song by India Ari called I Am Light.
And in yoga, we end our practice with the salutation namaste, which means the light in me honors and respects the light in you. So as you lie here, I want you to think of all the beautiful ways that you are the light.
My family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all white. Ooh. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light.
Realize in the act of becoming, in the act of doing any posture, you're already there. You're already. So try and stay calm regardless. Laika. Who's home? Well, I guess that's the sign that it's time for us to get up. Thank you for joining me, yogis, and for all those badass motorcycles like my sister and me too. Stay safe and Happy New Year.